Hey, it's Mel and today I'm doing my April wrap up and May TBR. I know it's kind of late, but there's nothing we can do about that now. The first book that I finished reading in the month of April was Seconds, a graphic novel by Brian Lee O'Malley. It's by the same guy that did the Scott Pilgrim books. Even though I would say it got a little weird, it was still quite a good book. By the end, the moral of the story is basically be careful what you wish for. The second book that I finished in April was Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare, the second book in the Infernal Devices trilogy. This book was really good. It was nice without the whole world building of the first fantasy book in the series thing. I got way more attached to all of the characters than I did in the first one. It was a good time. The third book that I finished in April was also a second book in a series, and that is Percy Jackson and the Olympians: The Sea of Monsters by Rick Riordan. It is my first time reading the series, and for a children's book series, they're pretty good. I can find the voice of Percy a bit irritating at times, but I liked enough to get the box set of Heroes of Olympus, so I also appreciated the lack of world building. The fourth book that I read was a younger contemporary book, and that is Starring Kitty by Kerry Stainton. This is just an adorable book about a 14-year-old girl and another 14-year-old girl. They are just the most adorable thing to ever happen, and I much appreciated the Billie Piper's hot, yeah she is, and the Wizards of Waverly Place Selena Gomez is amazing, because that was my childhood of women. It was just so fluffy, and it tried to be angsty but couldn't quite get there because it was just too sweet. It's also very British with the whole primary school, secondary school, year 10, 9, whatever it is. So there's this girl called Kitty and a girl called Dylan, and adorableness ensues. The fifth book that I finished, I also finished reading the last half of in the Dewey's 24-hour readathon, and that is Phata Me by Tara Murphy. I have so many problems with this book because I was like, oh, this is kind of dark and weird and kind of depressing, and this character is kind of getting annoying. And then it was, oh great, am I reading Shadow and Bone again? And then it was, oh great, now they're the X-Men. Literally the X-Men. Lycra suits the X-Men. Think I'm gonna do a video on this book. Those were pretty much my thoughts. It was cool how she came to accept herself, but they're probably not going to go for the whole metaphor that the X-Men did, if you know what I mean. And the whole, oh, you're the only one that can touch her, so now you're going to ravage her in a bathroom every other scene, was a bit much. And why can't you just shoot the villain, make sure they're dead so they can't come back and try and kill you for the next 2 books, 4 books. There are loads of books, but they're not proper books. I don't even know. I probably won't go on with this series because if I wanted to read the X-Men, then I would read the X-Men, and that would be a comic book, and that would be cooler than in book form because I don't like superheroes in proper book form. The next book that I finished, I read the entirety of it in the 24-hour readathon after reading the 160 pages of Phata Me, and that is Looking for Alaska by John Green. This was a very emotional and quite strange few hours of my day. I didn't cry, I almost cried. It took a lot out of me. I guess it's a beautiful book if you like the whole pain thing. You really can see how similar all of John Green's books are. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this. I think I'm still not over it. The last book that I finished reading in April was City of Lost Souls by Cassandra Clare, the 5th book in the Mortal Instruments series. I loved this book. Most of the book, apart from the whole Sebastian thing, but the epilogue though, that was very, very painful, and everyone was like, oh yes, everything's fine, Jace isn't dead, but let's not care about Alec while he's threatened by a prepubescent vampire. Maureen and Camille just can't with the vampires. I like the whole Simon thing, because there's more of Simon in the later books. It's good. Simon is a good person, and he spends less time brooding over a love interest as Clary and Jace do. Those were all of the books that I read in April, and now onto the books that I hope to read / have sort of read in the month of May. The first book that I might have already finished reading is Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare, the last and third book in the Infernal Devices trilogy. This book made me emotional, especially the epilogue, because Cassandra Clare writes those epilogues like she means to hurt someone, and that person would be me. This was an amazing book, and I liked it a lot. Even though I sort of knew how everything was going to turn out, because you probably shouldn't Google book series before you finished reading them. The best part was Magnus, but other than Magnus, it was also very good on its own. The next book that I also might have already read in the month of May is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Titan's Curse, the third book in the Percy Jackson series. This book was nice, bit much on the whole impending doom thing, but books often do that. My favourite part was when they got all of the gods together at the end. It just made me even more into Greek mythology than I was before, which is kind of saying something. I did keep forgetting that it was supposed to be set in winter. The thing is, all of the other Percy books I've read have been set in the summer holidays. Can I just say, Luke, I think, should just keep falling off that cliff for like eternity. It should be his thing, to just keep falling off an endless cliff, because that dude is just not okay. Also, Nico D'Angelo is the best and will forever be the cutest little nerd. The next book is also the book that I hope to finish next, and it is the book that I'm currently reading. It is City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare, the sixth book in the Mortal Instruments series. It's heavy, it's long, it's amazing, kinda, so far, apart from the whole sad Alec thing, because Alec is my baby and he needs to be protected at all costs, but just keeps getting hurt. I'll probably get through this quite quickly though, because I do read Cassandra Clare books very heavily, and it is also currently a week of holiday, so time for reading. The next book that I hope to finish is Heatwave by Richard Castle. It's not actually by Richard Castle, it's in the TV show Castle, which is based around a crime writer who has a muse, and the muse just happens to be an NYPD homicide detective who he bases Nikki Heat off of, and Nathan Fillion is Castle, so his picture is on the back of all of the books, and if you've seen Castle, then it's just that, but in book form. This will probably be a quick one that's like really easy. The last book that I think I can probably finish this month is The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. This is a fantasy standalone book, and I really liked the vampire standalone book that Holly Black wrote called The Coldest Girl in Cold Town. It's amazing. If you haven't read it, you need to, because amazing. Just general fantasy with like fairies and knights and stuff, and I don't know anything about the plot, because that's not how you buy books. You just go for the pretty covers and the authors that you vaguely know the name of. I think it's gonna be good though, like really good. Those are all the books that I have to show you today. I'll try to get better at the whole filming before you get halfway through a month thing, but oops. And I'm going on a school trip with my class, because I've gotten into school, not that anyone cares, but I was out of school and now I'm back in school, but I'm in year 9 instead of year 11, and it's a special school, and we're going on a London trip, and they said that I can go to all of the bookshops, so I may get a lot of books soon. And for each merit that I get, which is like twice a lesson, I get 10p, and then I can buy things through the school, so I'm like already gonna get a book in like a week, so there's gonna be some book hauls soon, probably. Bye!